Kiorafano. So it finally arrived. It is the the Lowe's mini block, Bonzai, and it's the companion to this guy, which is the succulent garden that I got, and I got it mainly to compare it to this big guy at the back, which is the Lego Bonzai. And yes, it is covered in pink frogs because they couldn't figure out any other way to do cherry blossoms. Which, okay, Lego. And I've been trying to record the story of the man eating mangoes of the Yukon, but the story just doesn't want to get told at the moment, and I'm kind of tired and cranky, so I'm not going to force it. Instead, this arrived, and we are going to build this instead. Why talk about English kings and why the world is doomed? I actually honestly had a shower thought of about a king called English king of all things, called Alfred the Great. Sorry, wearers of headphones, this is going to blow your ears out. No, that's just like a piece of cardboard. We'll just get everything unpacked. Here on the door table. This table is actually a door. I've recycled the leg stain on it because that's how I roll. My house is a collection of antiques, industrial shelving, and repurposed things like this. I mean, it's a style, kind of, I guess. Okie dokie, now that we've just established the level of professionalism you can expect in this channel, i.e. none, let's go on to making this. Remember, the instructions for this company are absolutely brilliant. I haven't built a Loz for a while. The other ones I've been building are Semnos, and I've still got like 3 or 4 of those to go. So I'll probably get them done eventually, shortly before / after the heat death of the universe. You know how it is. Anyway, my profound shower thought was about a weirdo called Alfred the Great. How is that working? So, that's how that's working, you maniac. Occasionally helps if you use the right size pieces. I know that this is not following the rules that I've established for my channel, but it was just tried, just once. Maybe we'll like it. These kits are also, apart from being literally a quarter of the cost, are actually much smaller, which if you rent like me, or if you have a cat like me, or you just don't have a massive pile of space, for huge Lego kits, it kind of works well. I mean, ultimately, I suspect these are made in a similar factory to Lego. They are scaled down. I think I've done the size comparison before, but let's just go here and have a look at the actual dots. As you can see, the actual physical dots themselves are smaller. It's really scaled down, which, yeah, that's a thing. If that bothers you, well, shit. Is there anything that doesn't bother you? Because I'm very easily bothered, and it doesn't bother me. Fucker. The most important thing to remember when building any construction kit is to swear profusely at it. They don't actually go together and click unless you are capable of swearing at them, ideally in multiple languages. In fact, the more languages you can swear at these things in, 100% the better the outcome. Okay, now we've got that established, we can click these together easily. Yeah, anyway, back to Alfred the Great. kind of an interesting study. He was a early English king. He's the only one to have earned the sobriquet of the Great, which, considering kings are the type of assholes and their chroniclers are the types of assholes that get to write history, the fact that most of them are things like the Black Prince or the fucking Conqueror or shit like that, the fact that only one has kind of been good enough to be called great, I think is interesting. And the most interesting thing about him was he's one of 2 English monarchs that it's known, or suspected rather, because we can't know these things for certain, but he's one of 2 English monarchs that is suspected never actually cheated on their wife, which I realise is a really low bar to cross. But we are talking about the English here, and their rulers. And it's very interesting. Alfred the Great was terrified of sex, like proper terrified. It is suspected, once again, because we don't know for certain, that he never actually consummated his marriage, which... kind of like the whole job of a king is to, consummate and continue that proud and noble lineage, and he was, quote-unquote, so terrified of the act, it left him, the mere thought of it left him paralysed. And so he didn't have any children, which was not an uncommon thing at the time for people to just not have children. And like I said, kind of suspected, now that we're far enough away that we can kind of speculate on his sex life without risking getting an axe to the head, that he probably was incapable of performing his quote-unquote bedroom duties due to intense pathological fear. And the truly interesting thing is, the thing that always sticks in mind in the half a dozen profiles I've read about the dude, is the fact that one of the reasons why they want to call him the Great is he helped build up an England that kind of couldn't have happened under a lesser ruler. What he did was he built monasteries, encouraged literacy, helped pay for... so this is how we're going on. Helped have the arts funded and built, which at the time was not... so I'm going to flip this over, I don't suppose it really... You know what, for the sake of my brain, it is going to matter. And he did many things. He was a great ruler. No, he was a king that was able to do many things. Unfortunately, he didn't have any children, and he was a native English ruler, which meant his line and his philosophy that went behind his rulership was kind of wiped out by fucking William the Conqueror, because the French have to fuck everything up. If you're French and find that offensive, cool. Let the French colonies go. For all those that are playing along with a copy of our home game, yes, once again, I'm going to bring up the fact that the French still have colonies in the Caribbean that are still maintained by a colonial office. If the French want to pretend that they're enlightened, why do people in the Pacific and the Caribbean, why are they going to have to commit revolution to vote on it? It should also be said that the French encourage French cultural immigrants to move to these places every time a referendum comes up to boost the numbers of non-Indigenous people in these places, just to try and help the French vote. So if you think I'm being a little bit unkind to them, don't care. What have I missed? All right. Oh, it's doing that usual thing where we just ignore the colour change. Right. Cool. So, because this means we're going to put this like this. Hey. And hey. Cool. This, I think, already has a more interesting base than the Lego one. Once again, I know Lego purists want to get up in arms about the superior quality of Lego. I am of the opinion that these non-Lego counterfeit Lego kits actually look a hell of a lot nicer than the Lego kits. I think, to my mind, Lego... Yeah, I get they're moving on away from the plastic they used to use to something that's more environmentally friendly. There's no reason why these counterfeit kits couldn't do the same thing with the same momentary pressure, etc. But for me, it's kind of like the sizing, I think, is better. Like, I like the smaller kits. They feel more satisfactory. Like I said, I don't really want to spend. Like, it's fucking expensive enough being alive these days without having to drop nearly $100 on a Lego kit just so you can have something to do on a wet day, which it currently is in Brisbane. As I record this, it's getting a little bit wet and miserable. We're bracing for weather that apparently is going to be worse than the floods in February, which shut down a big portion of the city. So that's what's going on. And I want to thank everybody that drives a fucking Tesla, an SUV, or anything else like that. Thank you for fucking things up. Because, yeah, I just want to point out that Teslas are rich kid toys at the moment and are driven by some of the worst drivers on the planet. And I honestly am of the opinion that fully electric vehicles, plug-in rechargeables, or PHEVs, aren't really ready for mainstream use yet. Well, that was exciting. Anyway, yeah, I don't think they're really ready for... Don't think they're really ready for prime time. The infrastructure just doesn't exist in places like Australia. In places like New Zealand, the infrastructure doesn't exist. A bit like nuclear, I think the investment should have been made in cleaner diesel, which was kind of fucked up by our dear friends in Volkswagen cheating their emission scores, which is great. Nothing like accidentally using a performance software package, timing package, instead of the actual one that was meant to be used. That's actually a really common dodge, for the record. Performance cars have always been given a forgiving, shall we say, look from emission standards. It's extremely easy to go fast when your car doesn't have to be efficient. That's why I'm not a huge fan of people wanting to give blowjobs of praise to elongated muskrat. Because fundamentally, he made the Lotus Esprit of electric vehicles. And for those that don't know, the Lotus Esprit, when it first came out, was a heavily modified Toyota Corolla. It handled like a piece of shit. It went fast, but that's because it was made out of plastic and carbon and fiberglass. It wasn't even carbon fiber at the time. It was a absolute abortion of a vehicle, from maintenance, survivability, even handling, because they made the car so god-awfully light to get such a high speed out of it that anything other than a straight line in a first and second generation Lotus Esprit is just a fucking suicide run. You really had to brake hard and pray that the car would be able to do what you wanted to do, such as go around that corner, which is problematic in a car. You kind of need your car to do weird and exciting things like go around corners. It's kind of why you pay for them. If everything was in a straight line, it'd be fucking easy as. And the whole thing is, Lotus built this reputation on an extremely fast car that was little more than a kit-built abortion. Yep, that's right. And now their cars are slightly better, but the fact is that the only reason they got away with it was because so many people were willing to just have a fast car. They didn't care about handling. And once again, in some regards, that's okay. If all you want is your car to go zoomy zoom in a straight line, cool. Then that's the car that'll do it for you. It's problematic to say that it's a great car based on its ability to go zoomy in a straight line. Teslas have a massive amount of integrated technology. Whether or not that's a good or a bad thing depends entirely on how well you understand technology. If you understand technology well, the idea kind of horrifies you. If you don't understand technology, then the idea of cramming as much technology in a car as possible probably seems really, really sexy. And the reason I say cramming as much technology into a car as possible is problematic is you have to maintain shit. Like, this is a huge problem with first generation anything. So I don't think a lot of people are old enough to remember how bad first generation iProducts were when it came, because it became a meme. You couldn't fix first generation iProducts. I remember a friend who still has this god awful third generation iPod for playing music, and the reason he keeps it is because it has a removable hard drive and a removable battery, so it can be repaired. But it was literally a one-off generation, and they did. And if he ever loses it, he can't replace it. There is no way for him to get a iPod that has a removable hard drive and is repairable. And he has it for what's the word I'm looking for? Philosophical reasons. He kind of likes the idea of being able to repair things. That's cool. I'm not going to sit there and say that people don't have a right to repair things. I think you do have a right to repair things. I'm not sure I'd say it's an inherent right to repair things, but I think people deserve to be able to attempt to repair things. If nothing else, when they break them, it's always kind of funny to me. Okay, what have we done there? That's... What? I see what I've done. I've been distracted by the bright, shiny colours, and everything is going to pot. God damn it. Normally I keep a pair of tweezers for actually prying this shit apart. Unfortunately, I appear to have moved them while cleaning up. This is why you should never ever clean up, kids. I'll tell you what, let's turn on the lights a little bit in the dark. Oh my god, this is why you should never move things. How hard is it to just leave everything in the same place always? Son of a bitch. Okay, what do we got in the build kit? No tweezers in the build kit. Oh, that's problematic. I'm going to have to cancel myself for this shit. Small screwdriver. Small screwdriver to the... maybe not to the rescue. Damn it, betrayed by small screwdriver. You were supposed to be the... there we go. You were supposed to be the chosen one, small screwdriver. I'm supposed to bring balance to my Lego building ability, not destroy it. And if you get that reference, you are old. And if you don't get that reference, why are you watching this? This doesn't get any better. This is just going to be a whole series of weird and esoteric jokes that won't make any sense to you. It's all in-jokes from the early 2000s from someone too old. Maybe that's what you're here for. Maybe you like old person humor. Maybe you think it's funny and kitschy. I don't know. I'm not here to judge you and your weird perversions and your strange desires to stay relevant. Me, I'm happy not being relevant. Being relevant sounds hard. Makes me want to go to sleep. Okay, what are we up to now? So now we need a grey, beige. No, I'll just go with grey. Grey is what I've got. Okay, and then we put all these little fuckers. Ooh, shiny. Anyway, back to my point about Arthur the Great. In spite of his crippling emotional problems, which no doubt would have played upon his mind and caused him acute distress, he's described as a pious and compassionate man, bearing in mind that this is the, say, 900s-ish. I probably should try and Google this shit so I can actually sound far more knowledgeable than I am. I'm just running off stuff that I remember, kids. Particularly for his period, which was around the 9th and 10th century. Could have been the 11th century, now that we think about it some more. Anyway, for his time period, he was a very kind person. I mean, that's a big stretch, but that's kind of the point I'm trying to make. He wasn't a perfect person. You probably wouldn't call him a good man by modern measure. But also, you shouldn't be measuring him by modern measure, obviously. He's a creature from a different age. Now, did we want this? Yeah, okay, cool. But by his time, he was a very kind and compassionate man. That's one of the reasons why he was called the Great. That's kind of he's great. A lot of times it's said that he's great in spite of his emotional problems. And I kind of think that doesn't do the good dude justice. Because he's an early Christian. And this is also back in a time in which gay marriage was legal in the church, because that was only banned in the 11th century. He was part of a far different and far more compassionate church than what currently exists today. And so I think, it's not even this weird little alternate history. I know people like to do alternate histories and go, what would happen if this man had been left in charge? Well, he wouldn't have been left in charge, are you paying attention? He didn't have any children. His way of ruling a nation was never going to take off because dynastic succession. Sorry to piss in your wheat bix, but the way these things work is you got to be related to the dude in charge. Now, there comes a point where if all your rulers are pious, celibate individuals, you end up with a Medici-style situation, which leads to intense corruption. I kind of feel that the Medici corruption of the church was kind of inevitable. I think it was always going to happen. If not the Medicis, someone else was going to fuck their way to the top of the Roman Catholic Church. And I think that's kind of a foregone conclusion of that particular. Yeah, you got one there. Click. I think it's kind of a foregone conclusion of that particular. Okay, we're going to have to call it electoral system, where the ruler is elected. There's a lot of corruption that went on behind probably still goes on, to be brutally honest, around the election of the Pope to really consider it a proper election. It's kind of just a kind of who's paid the most bribes competition. So it's fascinating from that point of view because it allows you to see consistently the type of corruption that's going on in the organisation. I know people are going to get upset at that. You can't call the Catholic Church corrupt. Times were different. Well, they were in charge. They were in charge. And so times were different. Times were hella corrupt. And you've got to kind of get to blame the people in charge. And because of the way they decided to do secession for the papacy, we get to blame the current Pope for that. Right or wrong. Guess what, dude? You're the one holding the bag. It sucks, doesn't it? Okay, that looks like to be what we're up to. Okay, number next is putting a green across here. And a grey bit here. And another grey bit here. And then two of these. See what I mean? I even like the colour variation in the little pot, the stylized pot. I think it looks a lot nicer than the black one. Now, yeah. Uber traditional Japanese bonsai would not use a pot in this style. I don't know how to tell you this, man. I'm making a kit out of construction blocks. It doesn't need to be super uberlicious accurate. I can already feel the furious typing. But that's that's something I think people forget as well. Anyway, with the greatness of Alfred the Great, he wasn't a warrior. He didn't really conquer things or burn down people's villages. He just kind of, did his thing and faded into obscurity. Like I said, I don't think he's a particularly famous British monarch. Like, it's only when you read all those god-awful books about there it is. It's only when you start reading lots of books about the English monarchy that you even start to hear about people like Alfred the Great, because I think he only ruled 15, 20 years. He wasn't around for a very long time, apart from a whole bunch of reforms and fair ruling. He quote-unquote didn't achieve much, and when people have an expectation of history that involves stuff happening, they kind of get upset when stuff doesn't happen, which I kind of think's cute, because we're currently living in a period in history in which a lot of stuff is happening, and I'm pretty sure there's an awful lot of people around here that wish stuff wasn't happening, that wish they didn't live in such interesting times. I know I don't. I don't like living in these times. They're not fun. But we don't have a say in it. We don't get to pick and choose when we live. We don't really get much of a say in anything when you boil it right down to the nuts. And I kind of think that's something that's forgotten. A lot of people, especially some people who study history, casually study history, not like serious studies of history, but like casual studies of history, like to act as if there's a choice in it. Like, wouldn't you like to have lived in this time? It's like, not really, because you wouldn't have existed. There's no easy way to say this, but if you wanted to exist in another time, well, you wouldn't. Like, you just wouldn't be able to exist. That's kind of how it works. You are a function of, well, what most people consider themselves is actually just a effective, open-ended survival program running in decaying organic neural networks. The whole thing is your brain degrades at a surprisingly terrifying speed. And what you think of as you is really just the most current version of software as a service being run by the current iteration of your hardware that is your brain. Like, there isn't even really, from a functional standpoint, you can't even make an argument for the continuation of consciousness between sleep cycles. Like, you go to sleep, you wake up, you're different. You're not the same person anymore, man. You've changed. And people don't like that. People don't like that being an earnest part of reality, because we like to think, or rather we've been conditioned to think, that we are a continuous continuous stream of experience instead of this stutter, stop-start pile of mess that continues to fall its way through reality, which unfortunately is what we are. Like, we are just a pile of shit falling backwards. Personally, I find it a little bit comforting. I realise that I am really not normal for finding this comforting. But I do. It's kind of quite a few long dark nights and graveyard shifts spent waiting for that dawn that never comes. It does bring me comfort to know that in a very, very real way, when I go to sleep and my brain starts processing the shit that I've gone through today and all the shit that I survived, when I wake up tomorrow, I will not be the same person. I will be a little bit more efficient at survival. The person that has experienced this horror and this sufferance will be thankfully put to rest and gets to have that break that they need. They get their eternity. And I find that comfort. And that probably speaks to how terribly damaged and traumatized I am. That is a thought that comforts me. Knowing that I will not exist brings me comfort. And I realise that these things that I speak, they sound like such fucking sermons, don't they? I'm talking about the comfort that comes from the acceptance of the non-continuation of your consciousness. It really does sound like some sort of religious parable, but like, I find it comforting, much like I find it comforting to know that the person that loved my exes doesn't exist anymore. That person that existed doesn't have to keep living with the pain and trauma they caused. That they get to rest. And I guess in the multiverse theory, they're happy not knowing. Like, they don't have to go through. That person doesn't have to live with the knowledge of the betrayal and the pain and the sadness that whole thing brought up. The person that loved my ex-spouse doesn't exist. Not anymore. They're gone. And they don't have to live with this constant hole in their chest. And like I said, that to me is comforting. Knowing that pure, loving person. Guys, fuck. Such trauma speak, isn't it? I'm glad the person that's experienced such joy no longer exists to experience such suffering. And holy shit, man. That's some fucked up fucking PTSD level shit you got going on there, mate. I know. Isn't it fun? He said. Just, yeah. The things that bring me comfort are strange flavors. And I accept that a lot of people aren't going to find comfort in the thought that the person that suffered trauma is free from suffering. Especially not in the way that, that you go to sleep, you wake up, you're a different person type thing makes it. I realise that doesn't bring you any comfort. That doesn't bring you any closure. I can't give you comfort and closure. What I can do is maybe give you something that's going to assuage the guilt a little bit. And that's that the you that did bad things doesn't exist anymore. They got to escape. And I don't mean this as a criticism. They don't have to pay the bill. You do. Luckily, you only have to pay it for 16 odd hours. This is what we're up to. You only have to pay it for 16 odd hours, and then it's over. And once again, this may not be something that brings you comfort. Maybe the thought of not being punished for eternity for the things that you've done feels like an unearned escape from the hell that you forged. And the only thing I can say to that is, it is grossly unfair, isn't it? But that's also, like, fundamentally how it goes. Yeah, this is already, to my mind, a much nicer looking pot than the Lego one. Yeah, so there we go. El Cheapo Lego is already beating the shit out of name brand stuff. Sorry that my talk about Alfred the Great is not too depth fascinating, I guess. This, I think, is a very interesting character. I think more people should be forced to learn about him. I'm just not a huge expert on him because, like I said, I've never done any specific research or study into English monarchs. Just read profiles on them, and he's always mentioned in passing because of the traditional focus in English history on wars. It's like that joke that for English history all you have to do is memorize a series of genocidal actions. Like, that's kind of the problem with 90% of the books that are written about English monarchs. They're not very good to read unless you happen to like reading about a bunch of warlike dickheads. That doesn't go there yet. Okay. Which, a lot of people do. I don't really understand the obsession with reading about them, but sure, like, there's plenty of people out there that like reading about William the Conqueror, who, he's a violent French bigot, who, as much as he had a lawful claim, kind of not really, to the throne of England, was just trying to get lands that he could control that were outside the purview of the French monarchy. And, that kind of leads to several 1,000 years of war and genocide and a culture hell-bent on expansion and conquering because, you've got this awkward position of the king of a country, an absolute monarch, being the subject of another absolute monarch, and that always ends up really, really well. No problems arise from this. No nations are burnt to the fucking bedrock to try and satiate the power struggles of two fucked up European countries who are trying to inherit the fucking ruins of a third fucking empire. That's kind of the other reason why I haven't read a lot of European history, because it's just so heartbreakingly, stupidly boring. Like, everything boils down to a bunch of petty fucking Roman governors wanting to have the biggest piece of the pie after the Roman Empire collapses, and basically fucking 3,000 years of dick measuring, 1,000 odd years, 1,500 years of the subsequent dick measuring competition that went into them trying to force each other to capitulate. I mean, it's no accident that every single time a lunatic jumps up to conquer most of Europe, there's always some bullshit about re-establishing the Roman Empire. Like, seriously, that's the best you've got? You want to re-establish the Roman Empire that has been gone for how many hundreds of years? Better part of 1,000 years at this point, depending on exactly on when you want to count the rise and fall of said. This is a little bit annoying. I can't find the 1x1 brown I need. I think this would be easy. White table, brown brick. Apart from the fact that it's a tiny little white bastard. There it is. Hiding on top of another one. They're tricksy like that. Just getting about ready to the point where I was going to be like, fuck it, I'll just use a different piece. Just use a different piece. Fucking do it live. There's a great mimetic meltdown of whatever his name was. So extremely famous, I cannot actually remember the guy's name. Something conservative. Knob jockey. See, that's the fun thing about a lot of the important characters, people that feel important at the time. They turn out to have zero fucking relevance here on out. It depends on if you find, if you want to find things funny or sad, I guess, is kind of where you end up with that one. And now I need another one. I need another one of these little 1x1s and not a smooth top. Oh, man. All these flowers are stuck together. And I find that irritating. What's that? That's a smooth one. Should skip ahead to see where I need the smooth ones. But that would be cheating. I would like to mess this up the honest way. Didn't accidentally stuff it in there already, did I? I don't think I've used any brown blocks so far. It's not 1x1s. Pretty sure that's 2x2. This is half the fun of building Lego, I find. Staring at shapes until you find the one you want. It's also good because it totally derails my thought patterns and prevents me from being able to maintain a coherent thought as my brain starts obsessively looking for it. Probably do have the right. Okay, they're separated. Kind of find the whole observation aspect really quite soothing. You know what? I'm just going to turn to my box of random bits and see if I've actually got a right piece of the approximate right size. I could get lucky. I'm not going to, but I could. Because I remember these LOL blocks kits don't have a huge number of spare parts. And I also have about 4 different kinds of construction brick in this box. And yeah, I do not have anything of the right size for this. This is absolutely magical. Just threw that in there. I do kind of find it funny that you know what? Where did you go? I'm going to put up this spare brown one. It's around 1x1. It looks to be about the right size. Because it's a spare one from a different kit, it's not going to murder me if it turns out I later need a round one. So we'll just do that and move on with our lives. There we go. Now we can all move on to the next page. Where it turns out that we are putting a smooth L over. Hang on. I'm so confused right now. Something's just fallen off. Oh, but read the instructions. Nah. That feels like hard work. There we go. Cool. And this piece now goes on here. Coolies. This tree is going to look so weird. And I make no apologies for that. Trees should look weird. They should look gnarled and hard fought. And they have almost all led hard lives. Okay, so it is one of these. there. There, and then there should be a brownie one. It feels like I'm missing a few pieces. I mean, that is completely possible. Haven't been keeping an eye on everything I do all the time. I'll just use this one, which is it's the right shape. It's the wrong color, but it's the right shape. Which, you know, will count as a win. I'll flip this over. Put this here, and then we're after a very weird looking brick. This one. Alright. A little bit frustrating. I appear to be missing half a dozen small brown pieces. I wonder, where's that box filled with plastic? Sorry about this, worries of headphones. Don't want to have any pieces. This is how I see you to sleep. The crunchy noises of plastic getting stuffed into it. Okay, so I don't appear to be missing pieces, or that many pieces. And I've been sure to only use the pieces it is suggested. And I'm still short 3 pieces. And now he has jumped up here recently to start eating at them. Most discombobulating. This is kind of the downside of the cheaper kits. There aren't a plethora of spare parts in the kits, which, depending on how you feel about excess plastic, etc., 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 could be a good thing, could be a bad thing. It's a frustrating thing. At least right here, right now. This is meant to clip on here like that, and there's meant to be another piece, which, where's the wrong one? I was about to say I could easily spot the wrong one earlier. Okay, so it's definitely not. Oh, actually, it is this one. Gee, fucking hell, I'm an idiot. Yay! Okay, cool. Just ignore me. I don't even know I'm whistling. Now, where are we? So this is meant to... Wait, what? Oh, so that goes there. Ah, okay, cool. So that goes. That doesn't fit there. That. Okay, so what's going on? Okay, so for that to fit, that goes there. Aha, see what I've done wrong. This gets clipped on there, and this goes straight on there. Okie dokie, that should go together now. And there we go. Okie dokie, so we need one of these, and So that needs to go down. And we go green. See, this to me is already looking like 100 times better than the Lego Bonzai one, just because it's not a plethora of white and the flowers are more complex, you see, which I think makes it look... Once again, I think this is just embarrassing to Lego, because this is a kit that looks more accurate than the Lego kit. Which, depending on how you feel about how much money you spend on Lego, is kind of embarrassing that these guys have done more with less. I mean, maybe the plastic isn't as good for the environment. I don't know. I haven't researched it. But the fact that they use dramatically less has to count for something, surely. Yeah, no, and it's quite insistent that... Get out of technical pokery bit. Okay, and... Okay, so... with our technical pokeriness, with that... Okay, so that slid all the way in there. Is that going to... Okay, so that's not going to stay there. How about if we do it that way? I think this might stay there better. Yes, it does. See, once again, I don't want to throw too much shade at Lego, but it is kind of a little bit... Did I use entirely the wrong piece for that one? I think I did. So, let's just see if we can... Okay, push that one down. I appear to have used entirely the wrong connector piece there. Now we just find out that... There we go. It's about to say the piece that we want doesn't actually exist, but it does, so back we go. So click up there. Come on. There we go. Click and click. So it wants it to be up. And we can build ourselves another... Whoop, we'll just smash that. It's okay. Not really. Okay, so... one of these, we're going to go... Yeah, I know, I don't have to put the flowers in exactly the right space. I can just turn around and do it any way I want. I kind of want to follow the instructions. Especially since I lost the instructions for the unicone. And so at the moment, I can't build that bugger. Which is intensely frustrating for me. Probably not for you guys. You guys probably like, so you've got a half-finished Lego kit that you can't build because you lost the instructions. That would be correct. Because I'm autistic, that stuff really bothers me. Okay, so we've got one of them. And now we're just going to build another one. Nope. This one, please. Ooh, shiny. Anyway, just to finish my long rambling dissertation on pretty much everything, I don't want to undermine anyone's pain. Like I said, a lot of pain is important, or at least I think pain is important in the world. there is comfort to be found in the strangeness of the world. And for me, some of that comfort and strangeness comes from the realization that our conscious mind ceases to exist every time we go to sleep. I find that massively comforting. You might not. Maybe it drives you insane, and that thought horrifies you. But I don't want to say it's a happy thought, but for me, it's a thought that brings a small amount of comfort. And I think we should try and find comfort where we can. Unless it's like, being an asshole online or torturing small animals or shit like that. In that case, fucking stop it, you maniac. Gee, can't you just be nice for once? Like, serious talk. You shouldn't have to hurt people. And I use the term have to because I realise there are people out there who have no other method of self-actualisation. I get it. Like, I don't agree with it. I don't approve of it, but I get it. You've got no way out, no other way to make yourself feel real, except in the fear and pain you have caused others. That's a really fucked up way to live. And you really need to find a lot better alternatives and quick, because that gets real lonely real quick. And if it hasn't got real lonely for you yet, that's because you're still young enough that people will tolerate that bullshit. Or you live in a fucked up enough place that people are just going to tolerate it. Like, don't get me wrong, there are places where being an abusive asshole is tolerated. Without even having to throw rocks at fucking evangelicals. There are plenty of places in anarchist groups where being an abusive asshole, while not actively encouraged, is tolerated. It's a trauma response. It's like, well, you can get over your fucking self. Wandering around fucking having his trauma response all over me. I don't have mine all over him. It's down the common courtesy and not fucking trauma all over me. I would really, really appreciate it. So 33 now clips on to... Wait, so does that just... Oh my god. So that clips on there. This is already making a better canopy than the fucking Lego one. Just going to put that there. As a statement, like... The way these crazy little bastards interlock with each other and are pinned into each other by these... This has had a lot of fucking technical thought put into it. Like, I know Lego likes to brag about the engineering that goes into their kits, but that's like 3 pieces joined together with leaves. Okay, and so now this is why I'm following the instructions, because looking at how complex the canopy of this bad boy is, I'm not sure I could even force it together with super glue and anger if I was to just wander off as my wand and just start plugging things in willy-nilly. This doesn't feel like the kit would work. It honestly feels like the kit would be like, yeah, nah, fuck you. And yeah, the inside, the stamens of the flowers do have 2 different kinds of pink, which is something I kind of like. I think that's cool, that little natural variation. I'm not really bothered about maintaining that, making sure there's an even spread, because the flowers aren't like that in the real world. Okay, and then this piece just clips onto what, here? Yes, it does, just clip onto there. And this goes here. See, now, you cannot tell me that this does not look like a better canopy than a bunch of goddamn frogs. I know at least one person who's out there going, goddamn frogs! So that goes there, then insert this here. And now we're going to stuff in. I think I've mentioned about 19 times, but I'll mention it again. The so then that goes there, and that definitely is looking more and more like actual bonsai, like an actual real world plant. If I thought I had one of these spare, I would stuff it in there just to hold it together, but the kit doesn't say to do that, so I'm not going to. Okay. Oof. I'm going over the goddamn top with this canopy. I love it. This canopy is so extra, it's awesome. Yeah, this is fucking insane. Like, yeah, needless to say, big fan of this kit. It was difficult to get because it was listed as no longer made for quite a while on eBay. AliExpress didn't have it. Eventually, I found a kit on eBay and managed to buy it. So, once again, this may not be a kit that is available easily or even at all anymore, but it is kind of wicked. It's kind of mad. I'm liking the amount of flowers that are on this. I'm liking the over the topness of it. Like, I've seen fairly old cherry blossoms, only about 80 years old, so not like super ancient cherry blossoms. I've seen them up cherry trees. I've seen them up close, and they are, when they flower, they're like this. It literally is like somebody exploded goddamn flowers up there. I can understand entirely the obsession to see one perfect cherry blossom in your life. And I also understand entirely why it would be a complete... Oh man, look at that. Look at the density of flowers on that bad boy. Just yeah, Lego. Yeah, that's concerned about that really. I'll stop slagging on Lego eventually. And now we continue to make more. So I'll put that to one side. Okay, so it probably seems strange for an adult human being to get excited about Lego flowers and densities of canopies and stuff like that, but it's just, to me, it's very interesting. Because this whole thing, they don't just wake up one day and throw up sit there and punch into Google a that would be your problem right there, mate. Apart from the fact that these pieces I have, that would be why I'm not even using the right piece, guys. Jeez. Hang on, am I? Yes, I am. Never mind. I thought I was wrong, but it turned out I was mistaken. Any whoosy to the what's it. Anyway, these don't just pop into the world fully formed. Some maniac has to sit there and design them and figure out how to build them, whether or not it's like there's a lot of artistic engineering that goes into making Lego kits. And it's a good counterpoint to the instructions for Meccano kits that I remember from a kid, like the old ones from the 1950s, where it'd be like a picture of the thing you're going to build, and I was just like, there you go, guys, that's all the instructions you get. And then, on your way, son. And that's kind of, it's cool, and that's okay in its own weird, frustratingly twisted way. Okay. Trying to interpret these instructions. And yeah, they would give you just a detailed picture of a crane or whatever, and it was up to you to build it. I mean, particularly, I had some antique kits. They're probably worth too much money to be handing to a freaking 8-year-old to build shit with. But in the 80s, this stuff was just junk that, people either didn't throw out, they took it to an op shop, and my poor ass was given it as a birthday present. And I kid you not, like from the 1940s and stuff like that, like the early stuff, the early Mechanos that had dad smoking a goddamn pipe on the box, because that's how old this shit is. They didn't have instructions. Like the instructions didn't exist. It would literally be I don't want to say it was a hand drawn. It was an artistic diagram of a crane, and theoretically, all the parts you needed to build that crane were in the box, and you built it. And the kit literally would just come the instructions would have such things on it, like, because the instruction book was like a literal book, and it'd be like, if you have the 256 piece kit, you can build this. If you can build these following things, and like I said, it was just an accurate picture of a crane. None of this fancy, these are the actual pieces you need. It's like, no, there's a picture of a crane. Count the bolt holes. And I did, because that's how you played with old school Meccano. That's one of the reasons why Meccano kind of fell off after Lego started popping up, because Lego has always had detailed instructions. I remember an early kit, I think it was from the early 70s I didn't have the pieces that went with it. I just had the freaking, just had the instruction manual, because it came with a whole bunch of Technic. My dad brought it at a garage sale, like literally 3 kilos of Technic blocks. And it actually showed you, it was like a 2 pages to put together a Lego minifigure. Like an honest to, what? I am so confused right now. Okay, well, we'll just remove this guy. And we'll just move him somewhere else. I tried to follow the instructions and I failed miserably. Let's put that there then. We'll stuff this on top. Oh, Jesus, can we find a way to, an orientation where this is going to fit? You know what? If I remove this to up here, see, we've all seen the pink buds on this bad boy. This has just had me build a green bud. Yeah, anyway, so some of the really early instructions for Lego were insanely detailed, that you don't really have to tell me how to put together a minifigure. I'm sure I can figure it out. There's 4 pieces. But they did. They 100% went the complete opposite way of early Meccano, and were just mind-bogglingly detailed instructions. Hey, there we go. There we go, kids. All we had to do was just rearrange all the flowers. And I wonder if... Yeah, I reckon I might. You know what? No. I kind of like the versatility that comes from having such a dense package of flowers. Focus. You're watching this to fall asleep. You don't actually care about what's going on. And for that, I thank you. It's a massive load off my mind to know that I don't have to exhaustively... Ooh, hello. Okay, so... Let me put that there. And then this one is there. Okay, I can do that. Oof. Would you believe that I have another piece wrong, guys? Like, What are the odds of me putting a piece in right? Well, would you believe 0? Okay, let's just pull this off. Kids. So... Not that I'm incompetent, it's just that I'm differently competent. And that means that goes there. Cool. And then it is this piece. Okay, cool. So this goes like that. Oh wait, it goes into the hole there. Yep. Competence is just a word. Okay, there we go. And this guy can... Well, I had put a piece on wrong, but it didn't matter because that was not the step I was doing. So, yeah. And now we just push this on there, and that's how that one sets. Okay. This is what we're up to after a long struggle. The struggle was real. Oh god, so real. Okie dokie. Yeah, back to this guy. And so now we're going to put a green bud. So first we're going to assemble a green bud. And then that goes there. And this piece goes here. Hey. I'm just going to power through and get this done. Not just because I'm having fun, but because I don't really have anything to do until the washing machine finishes its cycle, and the dish machine finishes its cycle, and everything finishes its cycle. So until then, you're stuck with me. So he's probably going to power out to an hour and a half, or whatever. I know you guys don't mind. Well, I know the one person that watches these doesn't mind. Hope everything calms down for you, mate. I honestly wish the US wasn't actually trying to kill you. Kind of gives me the shits. I mean, fucking worse for you. I know that. I'm not gonna sit here and say, oh, it's upsetting to me that you're the one being hunted for fucking sport. But I will do everything in my power to help you to escape, because oh shit. I don't really want to sit back and watch the world burn on TV, you know. I mean, I have to, but I don't really like it. Oh wait, maybe we put the straight down the middle. Diddle, straight up the middle. And yeah, that's kind of what's going on at the moment for people that are watching in the far-flung future of 2024, whenever fucking YouTube finally pulls the pin on shithouse streamers such as myself. It's probably safe to talk about this now, because I'm pretty sure the person who's getting really upset about this should be asleep by now. But my take on what's going on in America is less about a supply of children to rich white people. I think it's more about trapping women into situations of domestic violence by making it illegal and impossible for them to have abortions, and removing women's ability to have contraception. They're wanting to create sex slaves. Women who are raped, coerced, whatever, because particularly the legislation, which in Louisiana, which I think is going to be a model for the legislation nationwide in conservative states, it's actually it targets fertilized eggs that have been implanted, which is a very common outcome for fertilized eggs in mammals. Depending on who you ask, up to, I think my favorite one is a evolutionary biologist I knew 20 years ago once told me that the success rate for implanted fertilized eggs in mammals hovered around 30%, which she thought was absolutely hilarious. It just showed how bumblefuck stupid we are. And that was mammals, that wasn't people. That was, what she said was the rate of pregnancy from a single case of copulation was 30%. So even amongst, other species, a one-off don't get you none. And that's why the vast majority of mammals tend to be either serial copulators, in her words, which I always quite like. Oh man, you want to check out those mammals, they're serial copulators. Or they have intense mating rituals, dating, to make, basically to give the dude more chances of getting fertilized, because it really is actually about the dude having more chances to get the male getting the female pregnant. Because fundamentally the female could just wander around and on a long enough time span, a female mammal's chances of getting pregnant are as high as she wants them to be. Which, once again, I'm talking about males, mammals. I'm talking about the entire species. I'm not just talking about people, for people to get upright in their morality. I'm talking about the entire internal gestating order that we're a member of. On a long enough timeline, all females that have a biological or individual need to have children will have a child. The speculation, for the matter, is males. They're the ones that don't have the guaranteed chance, which that's just how it is, man. Suck it up, princess. Suck it the fuck up. I'm not particularly interested on people's, well, that's why men have no... I don't care. I don't care about your men's rights bullshit. I'm talking about the raw mechanics of the species we're a member of. Don't like it, stop being a fucking male. Stop being a fucking mammal. Jesus Christ, get out there and become a fucking, I don't know, become some sort of fucking flatworm or some shit, just, in the end, fuck off and leave me alone. Because it is not a problem that is unique to humans. As much as we would like all problems to be unique to humans, we are the same organic shit as everything else. And to pretend otherwise is kind of stupid, profoundly stupid. Okay, so what are we doing now? We're flipping this whole big hairy mess over and slipping that in there. Ooh. Okay, first we are making... Oh my god. I said it was awesome how detailed this thing is? It's kind of wearing a bit thin, I'm not going to lie. There is so much detail to this son of a bitch. Why? And the answer is because it's cool. Oh, gee. Yeah, this is a very good model of how a canopy actually works. There's no room for anything. And I'm just going to put this one there, because why not? And then this big old hairy mess with that clips onto this one. Yeah, okay, kids, this is how you build a super dense canopy. That is looking really should stop. I'm not going to, but I probably should. Okay, what are we doing now? Building more canopy, man. The fuck, have you not been paying attention? I keep saying how dense the fucking canopy is, and that's like, so what's our next step? More canopy. Anyway, I think it's about creating sex slaves at the end of the day. Because by targeting impregnation, the loss of a fertilized egg as opposed to the loss of an individual terminating an implanted fetus, you're now holding over people that can fall pregnant, people with uteruses. You're now holding over them the threat of every time they have unprotected sex that doesn't result in a healthy child, they can now be charged with a crime, having an abortion. Yes, that flies in the face of, which the rest of the world screams, that flies in the face of how biology actually works. It's not about biology. I don't think this is about adoption. I know a lot of people want to turn around and say that adoption. I don't think it's about adoption. I don't think it's about that. I think it's about controlling women. Adoption isn't about controlling women. Adoption's a far uglier thing to start talking about. Which we can. It's just a far uglier thing to talk about. So my reasoning is I don't think with the way they're going about it that they actually give a shit overly much about, because if a woman proves it's spontaneous, etc., she's safe. Well, she can be from a same bunch of maniacs. But it does allow an argument to be made for miscarriages. And if they really were after more children, there's other ways to go about it. I can already feel people wanting to fight me over this. So let's just dive into this. The Australian a conservative element of the Australian government started a baby bonus to reverse declining birth rates in Australia. And it did. I know so many children that are kids born from that program. And it did everything they wanted it to do. It encouraged a bunch of people to have kids who probably wouldn't have had kids otherwise. At least the people I know that had kids under this program wouldn't have had kids otherwise. Because it was a fairly substantial amount of money. Not so much money that, if you couldn't afford to have a kid, you'd go and have a kid because you're getting this massive payday. It was not that much money. It was, however, about $1,500, $5,000, something like that. It was just enough money that if maybe you're on the fence about having kids, it would, push over a little bit. And that was a Conservative government's approach to fixing the declining birth rate. It threw a little bit of money, not so much that it would matter, not so much that it would hurt the bank account, but it was a Conservative response to declining birth rates, and it worked. So that's why I don't think the whole they want more children thing works, because there's ways they've proven that would, especially considering groups like the Quiverful movement, there's plenty of ways that they would be able to boost the numbers of quote-unquote acceptable childbirth without them resorting to the incarceration. The incarceration instead works on a group of people, middle class. It works fundamentally on the middle class who are scared of punishment, especially the way women in America are raised, especially the way middle class women are raised, with adverse to physical violence and physical discomfort. Now, I know, periods, shit like that, okay, cool. It takes a lot to overcome an American woman's propensity to violence, which I think is an absolute tragedy, because the world is a very shit place and women should know how to throw a punch and take a punch. In fact, I've always considered it one of my obligations as a partner to encourage and help train female partners I've with who've wanted to do, martial arts. because it's not a thing that's encouraged. And I think fundamentally that the reason it's not encouraged is because that makes it harder to control women. A woman who knows that pain isn't forever, that you can, who knows that being hit doesn't matter, that they will survive that because they have done martial arts repeatedly and they are comfortable hitting and being hit because they know it's just temporary discomfort. They are less controllable. And I think that is why you don't see a large amount, you see a fair amount of recoil over the idea of a trans woman being involved in wrestling and MMA as opposed to more traditional sports. You don't see anyone up in arms about trans women playing golf, for example. I think that fundamentally has to do with the fact that conservative people, generally middle-class conservative people, although even lower-class conservative people are like this, don't like the idea of women they can't control. Me, I don't want to control women. So make women dangerous, make them deadly, make them lethal predators that hunt people for sport, and, cool, why not? That idea, when I've expressed that to particularly American liberals, university-educated liberals, always act with horror about that. Like, no, violence is bad. Violence is always bad. It's like, oh no, it is not always bad. It is always unpleasant, but there are plenty of things out there that are unpleasant that aren't bad. For example, I find therapy, going and chatting with my therapist, I find it extremely uncomfortable. I don't like doing it. I would rather get punched in the face. However, I go and do it because I know that discomfort is not permanent, and I know in the end, no matter how much I want to sit there and avoid being discomforted, the net result is a better me. So, what's that got to do with the price of eggs in China, as we say, where I come from, which is a barbaric land filled with semi-racist sayings? The point I'm driving at is I think that based on my observation of American culture, such as it is, there is a solid fear of, women rising up. I actually legitimately am missing a piece now. Well, isn't that annoying? I hope it's not going to be too critical. Kind of. Apparently I meant to make 2 of these bad. Actually, no, I still am. Oh, wait, there we go. That's right. Bam. Just like I bought one. I knew it the whole time. It was going to come together like a dream. God, I wish you people would stop doubting me so much. Have a bit of faith in me. I know what I'm doing. Almost, maybe. Not really. Anyway, it strikes me more as a method of control. I think a lot of Americans don't want to deal with the fact that a lot of people read and experience things like The Handmaid's Tale and see that as a how-to guide. They don't have a visceral sense of revulsion when they read that story. They don't see the parallels. Or they do see the parallels to the way black and indigenous women have been treated in America. But it excites them. And that is a shibboleth that a lot of Americans, a lot of people, not just Americans, but a lot of Western people don't really want to confront, is that kind of horror. What have I done? So on the opposite side, I should not have done that. What should I have done instead on this side? So on this side, right. Aha, that's what I've done wrong. This is why it's so important to follow the instructions. So you've got something to ignore and then backtrack on later. Like if you just follow the instructions the whole way, you'd never make these many mistakes. You'd never enjoy this wonderful. Ooh, now we can do a wraparound. This is going to be interesting. I wonder what wraps around too. Okay, this is going to be so incredibly funny. So, oh thank God, it's a squishy piece. I just had nightmares about it being like the Lego one, which is not squishy. Wait, so aha, right, so I've seen another mistake I've made. That's right, I woke up. Come on. There you go. Okay, so this needs to go there, which means no, I did have that right. Oh, okay, so I did build it right. I just had the. God damn it, kids! Wait, hang on. I have to go on like that. I see what I've done wrong. All good. All good. It's all good. So, yeah, I see what I've done wrong. Put that piece on my face. Luckily, I wear glasses. Hey. Come on. There we go. Might take us all day, but we will get there in the end. And by the end, I mean never. There will be tears before bedtime. Okay. Right. I think that's it done now. Okay. So theoretically, this piece runs around and up into here. See, I would have made this a couple of steps ago. I'll put that piece on a couple of steps ago. Oh, damn. Okay. And I got a broken piece, so it's not going to work in there properly anyway. Alright. So. Pull that off. Okie dokie. Just replacing a piece that is broken that I didn't notice was broken. So, hang on. Okie dokie. It's just like building IKEA furniture. Everything will go wrong, everything will break. And you kind of just gotta suck it up. Alright, this clips back in here, like so. This one clips in here, like so. And, oof, hang on. I think this is the one that just eep. I can't remember how it goes back together. We're all doomed. Just kidding. I mean, we're doomed, but not because I can't remember how to go back together. Okay, let's think about this logically. Why are we putting together Lego? There we go. I think that's how that's meant to go. Right. Really do not like how those two-piece sliders go together. Kind of fit well. They are. The top one side is thinner than the other, so I don't get a good grasp on the kit. And how did this go? God damn it, kids! You're meant to be paying attention because I'm not. I suppose I could go back and look at the instructions, but we all know that's not going to happen. So what if I just put this like that? Okay, time to get our little pressy tool, so known as a flathead screwdriver. This is the other problem. I suffer from Mongo hands. I think I've mentioned this previously. It's a very serious condition that affects people with testosterone-based endocrinal systems. And there we go. Oh, wait. Where does this piece of shit go? Ah, that's right. On the back. So, how's that go? Okay, so I think this needs to be corrected to go like this. So I'm going to do it. You can't stop me. You're not my real dad. Okay, now we just clip this over here. Ah, of course, perfect. Okie dokie, now we just clip this back on here like this. And wait for the super glue to dry. Kidding, I'm not using super glue to put these together. I don't hate myself that much. Is there a way I can... Maybe if we just... Sounds of someone about to do something horrendous. What if I just tie you up here and twist that there? And why are you crying? Famous last words. Can we just... Son of a bitch. No, we cannot just, okay? Because that's an insane idea. Come on. Okay, so that's kind of the... That feels like the best density I can swing out of it. Yeah, I'm really going to have to stop playing with this because I am just breaking off the canopy. I mean, that's not really a problem for you guys. I'm sure it's extremely entertaining to watch me consistently fuck this guy up. What if I grab one of these little... That's the right type of duty. Fuck. Okay, and you go back to your home, please. Yeah, that looks to be about as down as it's gonna get. There's that big hole at the top, which I don't really like, but I also don't feel like fucking around with this anymore and having it explode. Okay, okay, now we just clip this onto the base, and we are done. Oop, we need to make sure we clip it on the right way. Okie dokie, that was quite a struggle. And as I've got one more flowery thing that I can build, a couple more, I'm going to build the last thing. Put it on. This is not in the instructions. This will result in tears before bedtime. But we're just proceeds to throw a piece on the ground. This will result in tears before bedtime, but we're just going to do it anyway because you know what? Sometimes tears before bedtime is just what you need. Because sometimes you just want your cherry blossom to have as many flowers on it as possible. Even if it's not a good, sane, or acceptable idea to do so. And because that hole in the canopy right there is kind of annoying. So if we just slip this in here and pop the entire fucking canopy off, thus ensuring tears before bedtime. So if I just... Come on. There we go. Now if I just put this here... Now if I put that on, that should cover up that gap in the canopy. Like it was intended by the designers, kids. Like it was intended by the designers of that. Okay. There is our Loz Mini Bricks bonsai tree. To my mind, a nicer looking kit. We've got a spare. I'll tell you what, we'll just stuff this down here. A nicer looking kit than the Lego bonsai tree. I'm sure there are reasons why Lego went the way they did that don't have to do with profound cheapness. I'm just not going to believe them. Okay, this piece is not going to fit on, so we'll call it there. Thanks for watching, and stay safe.